All right, so you wanted to know more about this whole first principles thinking thing, and we thought, well, what better way to explore it than with this deep dive into an article from Continuous Improvement? It's all about breaking free from those assumptions we tend to make, and who knows, maybe we'll even stumble upon some world-changing ideas along the way.
It's amazing, isn't it, how a concept that goes all the way back to René Descartes can still feel so fresh and relevant today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Descartes was all about questioning everything, right? Doubting everything to arrive at those fundamental truths. But how do we actually apply that, like in a practical sense? How does that translate to problem solving in the real world?
Well, it's about stripping away all those layers of preconceived notions, all that we've always done it this way, baggage. First principles thinking forces you to get to the core of things, to ask yourself, what are the absolute, undeniable building blocks of this situation?
So instead of just accepting the standard solutions, you're digging deeper, questioning those building blocks themselves. It's like, instead of just buying a pre-built house, you're asking, what's the absolute simplest way to create shelter from scratch?
Exactly. You might end up with something completely different, maybe even better than the conventional house. It's about uncovering those often overlooked insights. Like Arthur Schopenhauer said, the capable achieve what others cannot, and the wise see what others overlook.
That's a good one. It's so true, though, isn't it? We get so caught up in the day-to-day, we forget to look for those hidden gems. So how does this idea of seeing what others overlook play out in practice?
Well, James Course talks about this idea of finite players and infinite players. The finite players, they stick to the rules of the game, while the infinite players, they redefine the game entirely. And first principles thinking, it helps you become that infinite player in your own field.
So it's not just about solving problems within the existing framework, it's about potentially creating a whole new game. That's pretty powerful stuff. Do you have any, real-world examples that really highlight this approach?
Oh, definitely. Think about Elon Musk and his mission to make space travel more affordable. He went to Russia to buy rockets, but the costs were just astronomical. Most people would have just given up at that point, assuming space travel just had to be expensive.
But not Elon Musk. He seems like a natural-born first principles thinker. So how did he approach this seemingly impossible problem?
Instead of accepting the status quo, he broke down the cost of rockets to their most basic elements, the raw materials, aluminum, titanium, all that stuff. And he asked himself, why are these materials so expensive when used in a rocket? That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. What did he discover? Was there actually a way to make rockets more affordable?
The cost wasn't actually due to the scarcity of materials or complex technology. It was this deeply ingrained belief that space travel just had to be expensive. The entire industry was built on that assumption.
Wow.
And Musk challenged that assumption. He analyzed every stage of the process.
So he wasn't just looking at the materials themselves, but the entire system surrounding them.
Exactly. And by questioning every step, he realized that by manufacturing key components in-house, he could drastically reduce the cost. That's how SpaceX was born.
Yeah.
A direct result of applying first principles thinking.
That's such a perfect example of how first principles thinking can lead to groundbreaking innovation. But what about the rest of us? Those of us who aren't trying to revolutionize space travel, How can we apply this to our own lives?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About what we might be able to achieve if we weren't so quick to accept those limitations.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know I've definitely been guilty of that. Just accepting things as they are without really questioning them. We get so used to hearing no or it can't be done that we just stop trying altogether.
And it all comes back to, what David Schwartz talked about. The biggest barriers we face are often the ones we create in our own minds,
Right.
We're conditioned to play it safe, to accept the limitations that society kind of imposes on us.
So instead of breaking through those barriers, we end up reinforcing them. We aim for mediocrity because that's what we've been told to expect, and it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. But first principles thinking, it challenges us to break free from that cycle. It encourages us to aim higher, to really envision what's truly possible. Even if we don't always hit the bullseye, we'll still achieve far more than we would have by playing it safe.
It's like venturing off the beaten path, You might encounter some unexpected obstacles, but you're also more likely to discover those hidden gems that everyone else misses.
And that's what's so exciting about this whole mindset shift. It's not about blindly following the rules or accepting limitations. It's about becoming a creator, an innovator.
So we're seeing a theme here. First principles thinking is about pushing beyond those comfort zones, seeing things with fresh eyes. But let's be honest, it's not always easy, is it? It takes some courage to question the norm and come up with new solutions.
Or absolutely. It's not a passive activity by any means. It requires active engagement, a willingness to really dig deep and challenge those ingrained assumptions.
Yeah, and sometimes that means going against the grain, which can be, well, a little intimidating, to say the least.
But that's often where the most significant growth happens, when we step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown.
Instead of just consuming the ideas that are already out there, we're actively creating our own. We're shaping the world around us instead of letting it shape us.
And that's what this entire deep dive is all about, helping you become a more active participant in the world of ideas.
So first principles thinking, it's a challenging process, but ultimately it's about empowering yourself to see and create new possibilities.
It's about asking why, relentlessly, until you reach those fundamental truths, and then using those truths as the foundation for building something truly innovative.
This brings us to an important question for our listener. What's one challenge you're facing right now? And how might applying first principles thinking change your approach? What underlying truths might you uncover?
Don't just let this be another interesting conversation you had and then forget about it. Take this knowledge and make something amazing with it.
Right. This isn't about passive learning. It's about taking action, experimenting, and seeing what you can create.
You might be surprised at what you're capable of once you start thinking differently.
It's like we always say on the show, the real magic happens when we take what we've learned and actually put it into practice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing to understand the concept of first principles thinking, but the real power comes from actually applying it, using it to tackle those real-world challenges we all face.
So if you're feeling stuck, hitting a wall, maybe it's time to take a step back and ask those fundamental questions. Challenge the assumptions you've been making. Break the problem down into its simplest parts and see what new insights emerge.
You might just be surprised at the creative solutions you uncover when you start approaching things from a first principles perspective.
And remember, it's a journey, right? It's all about experimentation, iteration, constantly refining your understanding as you go.
Don't be afraid to try things out, to make mistakes along the way, and most importantly, to learn from those experiences.
Yeah, each step you take, even the missteps, they bring you closer to a breakthrough.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the next Elon Musk, disrupting an entire industry with your innovative ideas.
Or, hey, maybe you'll just solve a problem that's been bugging you for years. Either way, the power of first principles thinking lies in its ability to help us reach our goals, whether they're big or small.
So, keep diving deep, keep questioning everything, and most importantly, keep creating.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But the conversation doesn't have to end here, right?
No, not at all. We encourage you to keep exploring this fascinating concept and to share your own insights and experiences with us.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those ideas flowing. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.